How's it going, Chief? Well, only one camera.
Actually,
You have one too.
it's two on there.
Yeah. But they've been here.
I got them to do how they figured it out. I knew there was going to be a small percentage.
What was it?
I mean, they got it. It is
7.8%. Almost. Almost 8%.
That in and of itself is good, but so what I'm
We
saying
can
is,
always adjust that.
what I'm saying is, whenever the new okay, I want to change this room. Well, we've got one this time.
Yeah.
One here. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to talk about.
Well, yeah.
You have it too. I think that's from Mr. IT. Remember to mute when you join the Zoom. It says remember.
Yeah. We'll look at it. It's always no, she wants you to, except for the 3:30. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Last week. Nobody was here.
Well, yeah, I think they're.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, October 12th council agenda session. And I call this meeting to order. I have a motion on the minutes, please.
So moved.
With no objection, minutes will stand as reported. Moving down into ordinances, first reading this afternoon under legal. It was my understanding that there needed to be some, I think, word smithing done to the ordinance that passed last week, which caused us to have to go back to first reading on this 5-8 curfew for minors. Are there any questions or comments about going back to first reading on this ordinance? All right, seeing no lights. Moving down to planning, items 6B through 6M. Are there any questions or comments? We'll not take time to read each one into the minutes as they were covered last week in planning and zoning. Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the Federal one, point projects,
Which letter are we on?
I'm on C.
C, okay.
We discussed it last week. I have, neither party will be here tonight. I have it writing. That they come to agreement, everybody agrees with everything.
Okay.
Okay, so when you call her, when it's read.
Okay. All
Thank
right, thank you. All right, any other questions or comments concerning any of the items 6B through M? Not seeing any other lights. We'll move now down to resolutions. Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and read 7A, please.
A resolution considering short-term vacation rental application number 21 SDPR 130 for property located at 1454 Jefferson Street.
And go ahead and do B too as well. That's
A resolution considering short-term vacation rental application number 21 SDPR 150 for property located at 1450 Jefferson Street.
Councilman Byrd, are we ready to go with both of these?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, very good. 7C, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor rep his designee to enter into amendment number 1 to lease and a second agreement to exercise option to renew for Guided Child Fund Inc. and substantially forms attached for lease of office space at 1715 East Main Street, identified as tax parcel number 156 BB011 for the consideration of $1 for the additional term of 3 months from January 31, 2022.
Any questions or comments regarding C? Councilman Byrd?
Thank you, Chair. Jermaine, can you, I know this doesn't have anything to do with the warehouse, but this is a small office. I just would like to get an update, about the other building where we are.
Yeah, so right now, we are still trying to work with the Guided Child Fund to identify a permanent location
Okay,
for the warehouse. Obviously, you know, the city has other plans for the warehouse property.
yes, sir.
But we are still working with them and we'll try to be as helpful as we can. As of right now, they have not identified a new permanent space. But we certainly want to work with them to help facilitate a move however possible.
Please keep me posted.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Move to 7D, please.
A resolution to allow the administrative for the Department of Economic Development to apply for and if awarded a Southern Tennessee Opportunity Pilot Initiative Planning Grant from the Tennessee Department of Human Services for an amount not to exceed $500,000 to apply for and if awarded a Southern Tennessee Opportunity Pilot Initiative Implementation Grant from the Tennessee Department of Human Services for an amount not to exceed $25 million.
Any questions or comments regarding 7D? Items 7E and F were covered last week by Councilman Hester and our Parks and Public Works Committee. Are there any questions concerning either one of these items? If not, council will turn our attention to purchasing questions. For this afternoon, we also have some recommendations for RFP. Are there any questions or comments concerning any purchase items or our RFP recommendation? I'm seeing no lights. Turning now to October the 19th agenda. Referred to as our 2-week agenda. Any questions or comments concerning our 2-week agenda? Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the economic development, item B, I have a quick question. And it's about the funds that were identified over the past, I think, 6 to 8 months. Are we using part of those funds for this for?
This is for the airport environment.
Yes.
Yes, this would be potentially either coming from COVID home dollars or potentially ARP dollars. Yes, yes.
That's what I needed to confirm. Thank you very much.
All right, so you good? Now moving to future considerations. Anything in our future considerations that need to be brought to our attention at this time? If there are no objections to future considerations, each of these items will migrate onto our 2-week agenda as the date suggests. Councilman Ledford?
Just real quick, Chairman, thank you. Public Works, item 4 and 5. Do we know when we'll have a dollar amount assigned to those? And then back up to number item 2 under Public Works. Under the emergency preparedness plan, was that triggered? I feel like I remember a conversation, was that triggered by the tornado helping us to? I guess, I don't want to say a better plan because the response was incredible, but looking ahead.
Yes, I think that's
Yes.
part of the reason why we wanted to take another look at emergency preparedness and make sure that we enhance that as much as possible.
Yeah, because that was meant to be, I don't know how we're going to improve it. It was incredible.
And then for items 4 and 5, we will have dollar amounts added before they are 3 weeks out. Okay, I think these are both listed for the 2nd of November, so by next week or week after.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions concerning our future considerations? If not, we'll move to department reports. I see Chief Tucker back in the back today, I think. Chief, are you ready to give this report, sir?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Police Department, we wanted to report 2 items. One, the National Insurance Crime Bureau has agreed to loan us up to 8 insurance claim vehicles at no cost, other than routine maintenance. The purpose of furthering our auto crimes investigations. This is an agreement we've entered into in the past, but anyhow, that is just the reporting of that. Also, Debbie and Martin Pierce made a donation to our Auto Crimes Bureau for office furniture, and that total is value was estimated at $2,158.45.
All right, any question for the chief concerning the 2 items that he has reported on this afternoon? All right,
Thank
Chief, thank you very much. That concludes all of our agenda items under our agenda session. Is there any other business that needs to come before the council at this time? Move on to our legislative committee. Mr. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Prior to convening legislative committee, I was out last week, so pardon me if I may have missed it. Was the ordinance that we are going to discuss submitted to all of the council members? Is this the first time the council has seen this ordinance? So everybody's seen it? Okay. I wanted to make sure that people have had an opportunity to see it. That was my only question, Mr. Chair.
So are we ready to proceed with legislative committee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, at this time, I will turn the chair over to the vice chair for our legislative committee.
All right, we'll call to order our legislative committee. Have a motion on the minutes. Objects, minutes will stand as reported. And as usual, our clerk arrives just in the nick of time. Make sure everybody has the ordinance to be discussed in front of us. At this time, I will go ahead and turn the floor over to the author of the ordinance or the sponsor of the ordinance to introduce it to the council. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. After researching the pay for our city court judge, they currently make $180,000. And I know typically we get into the discussion of, well, will we be, if we change the pay, reduce it, will we be able to be competitive in the market? And we often look at alternatives if they're making this amount of money in the practice and majority of the time. and his practice in the field of work. So when we get elevated to become judge, that's the question. It's what we're here for today. And the thing is, we talked about it substantially about the city court. Both of them, we decided to suspend one of the courts. And with the workload that they presented here at the council, not once, but on several occasions, the work that they're doing, even with eliminating Judge Bean Court, the work still isn't gonna be a heavy load for what they to come to that court. So 180,000, I think that's too much for the workload that they have, even looking into the future, having, it's just not, we don't have the jurisdiction of general sessions court. So therefore, our city court judges shouldn't be paid exactly what the general sessions court judges they should make. And according to the law is that we can charge, we can pay them 20,000, or we can pay them an hourly rate as well. But I think 90,000 is sufficient enough. I mean, we can go, we're here today to discuss it. That was just an amount that I proposed.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll go to questions now. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of kind of general questions, if I may address the sponsor of the legislation, is how did we arrive at 90,000? That would be my first question. The second question is, when we are comparing or using the descriptive of competing in the marketplace, how does this position being an elected position come into play? Because we're not actually hiring this person. They are choosing to run for this office. And I think that is a valid conversation point. Those are just 2 points I'd like to make, try to stir the conversation forward.
Councilman, that was a great question. So with you right, they also wanted to be elected for the seat. However, 180,000, that the pay we were earning at the council was that pay a week. So 180,000, and for that 90,000, considering the workload, our pay isn't based on the years of experience that they have. If that's the case, council members will get paid for someone who's there now. It's an elected position. So I and is what I consider to be a fair amount. I mean, we can go up. I mean, maybe 100,000, whatever it may be. And I think that the council should agree on it. You don't have to just say.
Councilman.
I would wonder, and I don't know what the number is if we were to continue, but I would wonder if we have done any kind of research to determine kind of the base salary for attorneys, or if we have compared to other municipalities in the region. Have we done that due diligence?
The research that I came across, none of them is making 108,000. They made wages. Some municipalities paid by the hour. Some municipalities paid 20,000. That's the standard according to the state policy. That's the amount. The least that we can pay them. And then I looked at our city attorney, what she's rated as a city attorney, and I compared it all to it.
Very good. I'll kind of leave that where it is for the moment, because I don't know what that number is, and I would like to try to figure that out and have some basis for a dollar amount other than just 50%. I think I would need more information on that. And then I guess if anybody else, I'd like to hear more about the elected part of this, because we're not hiring someone to do the job, and I understand the importance of that, and we just made a very significant move in that, towards that with the passing of this budget. But this is an elected position for people who want to do this job, and we're not actually hiring folks. I wonder how that comes into. I'd like to hear council's thoughts on how that may come into the pay amount that is set, or even a little bit further with experience. If we're not using experience, which I think is really important when it comes to this position, then why not? A, why not? B, should that scale, should we develop some sort of scale based on experience? Because that's me, so come into play, and maybe that's an option that we have an A, B, or C pay scale based on experience or municipal experience. Just some thoughts, Brandon. I'm just trying to figure out where we're coming at with the number so that we, and my constituents ask me, well, why did you pick that? I don't, well, it's because it's 50%. I mean, that's not gonna fly with some of my constituents or most of them, judging from past conversations when we do something this big. Looking forward to hearing more from the council. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Henderson.
Thank you, sir. And I agree with Councilman Ledford, some of the points that he was making about determining what the pay should be. And I don't question Councilwoman Coonrod for bringing this forward, $180,000 does seem like a lot of money to pay for a judge. You know, I'm not recommending, and it would have been, I guess, nice to have seen the research, Councilwoman, that you did to have in front of us to compare that to, you know, maybe what Knoxville's doing, what Nashville's doing in terms of city court. You know, I would suggest maybe, and I'm not sure we're quite ready to have this, or I'm not ready to have it on the agenda to be voted on. I would suggest that maybe we have HR take a look at and research, you know, what is an appropriate pay for a city judge. We have all kinds of different tiers in our pay plan, one for city attorneys and everybody in the office, one for city clerks. I don't know why we couldn't include in our pay plan or in our tier a city judge as well. My next question would be, so we set the salary at an amount, what do we tie it to determine when a salary increase is appropriate? I think that's another thing that we need to decide. As of right now, it's my understanding that they're tied to session court judges. So anytime session court judges get a raise, I think the city court does as well. So I think it might be appropriate to turn it over to HR to do a pay study and maybe even put it in our pay scale so that it is tied to some mechanism where we're just not having to vote each time we give a judge a pay raise. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sir.
Thank you, Chair. I think one of the questions to be asked are we good stewards of taxpayers' money? I think that's a great way to start it. Are we as a council good stewards of taxpayers' money? And I think when we start that as the foundation, it takes a toll to look at. It makes you say, hey, well, let's look at a lot of the salaries and things that are going on that we are paying out, because things that we hear a lot about are roads being paid, the infrastructure of our city and how it's looking. And I don't hear a lot about salaries and stuff, except for, you know, when we gave our raise to our city employees who were very underpaid for a long time. Then the next thing that bothers me is that how did we arrive to this situation of $180,000? Because at one point in time, we wasn't there. And I think this was on Judge Williams' time to where things changed. And I'm not sure of the whole historical part of it, but city court judges were put up to 180 to be fair with the sessions court judges. And does the workload justify paying that, you know? And I think that's something we definitely need to look at. Judge Payne or whoever's sitting in that seat at that time, I don't know, but I can speak with Judge Payne's situation. She is more than well qualified, very seasoned, and a lot of times you pay for what you get, you know, and I think she does deserve the money that she's getting because she's a very educated, well served woman. She has been in this position for a while, and she has been an attorney for a while, and has had a great practice. I just would definitely love to look into it more to see why did we put it up to 180 with the other judges, and someone here knows why we did that. And to say, I know if I'm a manager at, say, a restaurant, I get paid for my workload, or someone that's on a certain shift get paid for the quality of work or the amount of work that they're doing. So when we asked, why would we bring it down to 190, up to 90,000? I would like to know why did we take it up to 180? And what was our reasoning and the council board's reasoning behind it?
Okay, so, in the ordinances, section 1250, the city council passed city judge's rate of pay that determines that it's the same salary as general sessions for Hamilton County, except that pensions are computed in accordance with the city plan rather than the county plan. And that, that took effect when the city court did exercise the same jurisdiction as general sessions court. So 180 is not the actual salary. The most recent salary, well, is reported at just over 180. And that's by ordinance.
So would you, if I may check, please? Okay, so what you just said is that we adjusted it. We made that adjustment during the time we had the same jurisdiction as general sessions court. So voila, yeah, they need to get paid the same. But then we lost that jurisdiction, lost the workload, and didn't adjust the pay. We kept it the same. All right, thank you.
One other thing, Councilman, I just wanted to make sure that it was clear that this body cannot change the salary for the current term. So Judge Katie's pay will not be affected. She will rerun, and in the beginning of the following term, whoever wins, Judge Katie or somebody else will have the salary if it's changed.
Chair, if you may, I do think you made a great point with the same jurisdiction and why we adjusted the pay. That was an amazing point, and I think that's something y'all need to think about, and how we lost the jurisdiction and that pay didn't change. But another thing I definitely want to put on the table, that if we adjust this and this body decided to do that lower than 180, will we still get a seasoned person like the, the talents that we have in Judge Payne? Would she decide to run again, or would she say, hey, I'm actually gonna go back to the private practice and work there because it's not gonna work? That's all.
Thank you, Councilman. Madam Attorney, does it state what the salary was before this change?
I'm sure that could be.
If you wouldn't mind finding that, that might be interesting to know as well. Councilman Nestor.
First of all, thank you, Councilwoman Coonrod, for your labor, your effort, this, but I agree with the chairman, I agree with Councilman Byrd, that more research has been done, and I think that the salary should be better to surrounding areas, like you said, Chairman, places like Knoxville and all that. And when we look at the average salary for our judges in the Knoxville area, it exceed $150,000. This is the average, so I'm not sure 90,000 figure is not. We should look at the pay plan, as you stated, Chair. So that's we need to definitely need to reevaluate that, Council. Thank you.
Good, sir. Councilman Levitt, back to you.
Yes, sir. I had a thought in hearing the comments I wanted to share and see if the council would be open to, while we're looking at this, and I do think that having HR take a peek at this would give us some context and foundation so we can make a solid decision, is could we go ahead and ask them to look at what we might pay a magistrate and also tie that, because we are obviously with eliminating Division 2 are going to need that resource, and we're going to have to travel down that road at some point. why not try and do it now, do the whole two birds, one stone kind of philosophy, if that would be acceptable to the author and this body. Thank you.
Sir. Councilwoman, I'll come right back to you. I just want to ask a quick question. Hey, Chief. Chief Tucker, you can answer it if you want to, but I don't think you want to. Okay. Hey, Chief, would the administration be willing to have HR take a look at this? It's been recommended / requested by a few council members. I know we've done this before, even when we were talking about a position that we had here at the council for a legislative person to help with council, and we did some pay study analysis to find out what would be competitive and what would make sense. Would the administration be willing, part one, and part two, how long do you think it would take to come up with some kind of number to bring back to this body to consider?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, I think we can certainly benchmark and do a pay study. We would not provide any recommendations to the council.
Correct.
But we can certainly do some benchmarking, and I think we would need a couple of weeks to do that.
Okay, I think the support of an organization like the HR department that does this type of thing, they're used to benchmarking, gives us a little more firm footing if a decision was made. I'm definitely not asking for a recommendation, but even just a benchmark of a study would be very helpful. This council decides to move that direction. I just want to make sure everybody understood the timeframe that it may take so that we can consider that as a body, and Councilwoman Coonrod is the author of this if she so chooses.
Yeah, I think we would need at least 2 weeks, and we could do a benchmarking report that would be similar to what we used for the general pay plan.
That'd be great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I thank you for your comment. One, it's not a job of administration, like I get it. It's our role to set what the pay is, and that's important to what the law says. So we're not doing something outside of what that says that we are able to do now as a council person. So, but I get it. Now, Knoxville, for a magistrate, Councilman Hustle, it's $150,000. That's the magistrate in Nashville and anywhere else. But for the municipal courts, it's still significant lower than what we're paying here in Chattanooga. Nashville is $79,000 to $120,000. And when you look at Knoxville, it's they pay about $38 for $60 an hour, even so. But it's still less than what we're paying, which is $180,000. So and the fact that we don't have general sessions provisions is what I'm looking at. Now, if we want to pursue big general sessions provision, by all means, pay them $180,000. So maybe we should ask the people who our city court judge serve, like what would be a fair pay for an elected official to make, because it's an elected position. If we don't want to govern that or take on it, but we don't. It's no reason for them to make $180,000 with the caseload that they have, and we do not have general sessions provisions. It doesn't matter. If that's the case, Councilwoman Byrd, she's got all these letters behind her name, but all the experience too, very intelligent, all that. But she only makes a certain amount on council. It doesn't change unless she becomes the chair or the vice chair, and then she gets that increase in pay. Will that ever change because of her credentials? No, it stays the same. Nothing changes. It's an elected position, just like Judge Payton is an elected position. $180,000 is too much. But we can further research it, if that's what the council deems appropriate to do. And administration, whatever they come up with, that's perfectly fine.
All right, I see no more lights. So I ask, is it the pleasure of the council to have the administration do a little benchmarking for us to give us an idea of what this might look like? And who knows, they may get back with the exact same amount the council will could run. We really don't know for sure. Is that the desire of the council? I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. I don't see any disagreement. Madam Attorney, if we can also get the amount that it used to be, I think that would also be good to know before we change it. whenever it was. Thank you. All right. Hold on just a moment, sorry. Councilman Ledford, I didn't see your eyes.
Just a side note, I may have used the term magistrate, but I think in this specific situation, we would use a special judge. So I don't know if that makes a difference, terminology and or description of things. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Councilwoman Kinrod, sorry.
I was just gonna add, like, I just wanna say, you know, I'm not an attorney, we have some experts here that are attorneys. Emily, and we got Councilwoman Burks, we have, you know, that's well versed in. But if we just take the time to read, you don't have to have a law degree, you don't have to have specialized in none of that stuff, Darren, he loves to read too. All you gotta do is just read what it says, and just whatever we're supposed to do, it's in our wheelhouse to do. We gotta stop putting that off on everybody else, like, I get the concerns, and I'm not, it's nothing to take away from Judge Beatty, I think she's a great woman, years of experience. But the fact that we don't have general sessions for you. That's the thing, I mean, I wanna make what the mayor makes, but I'm not the mayor. So, I mean, I just think we need to think about that. Thank you again for your comments, and I'm willing to do the work as my colleagues asked and presented. And so we'll come back in 2 weeks after the administration providing with information that they have.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I see no further bites. I believe that was the only topic of discussion. However, we do have an attorney-client privilege meeting. Is there anything further for the legislative committee before we adjourn to attorney-client? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned to attorney-client. We need to clear the room, please.